Hey Vision Chasers, this is Dr. Bird here with the social studies lesson for you today. I have just finished reading Blazing Inferno, the Triangle Factory, and this book is about the tragic incident that occurred at the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory in New York City in 1911. And during this episode, there was a fire that broke out and it resulted in the loss of 146 lives, which is so sad. And then worst of all, it was later learned that these deaths could have been prevented. But I'm going to use this book as my source throughout this lesson. I definitely recommend it. She comes at it at a different angle by, including the accounts of many of the survivors. And there's quite a few things that I actually learned when I was reading about the things that people did in order to get out of this building, because they were cut off because the building was definitely not up to code, and they just were not ready to save people in the event of a fire. And it was just so sad reading about their stories. So with that being said, let's get started. So it's important to keep in mind the time period that we're discussing. This was the Gilded Age. Everything looked rosy on the outside. Looked like there were a lot of people making a lot of money, all the different types of inventions and innovation, and all these people making great sums of money by making shrewd business moves. But in fact, that wasn't necessarily true. There were a lot of poor people who had no way out of poverty. They were working long hours, and even their children were working out of necessity as well. And during this time, there's a great wave of immigrants coming to the United States in order for better opportunities, and they would take what little they could get. As a matter of fact, many of the women who lost their lives were immigrants themselves. And I mentioned the death total was 146 people. 123 of those people were women. So the poor working conditions were due to the laissez-faire approach of the government. Laissez-faire means hands off. The government didn't step in quite as much as the government does now in order to regulate things like fire escapes and how doors are to open. Today, there are serious consequences for not conducting fire drills. But back then, it wasn't taken as seriously. And as a matter of fact, sadly, there was a fire prevention expert who toured the building and said that this is so dangerous to have all these people in this cramped sweatshop, is what it was. And he tried to encourage officials to conduct fire drills so that in the event of a fire, the workers would know what to do. Sadly, there were no fire drills, and this expert's recommendations went ignored. The two owners of the company, Mr. Isaac Harris and Mark Blank, had little respect for their workers. It was later discovered that these owners would actually lock the doors after the workday began in order to, quote, keep track of the girls. Now, it's widely believed that this fire started when someone threw a lit match in a trash can. So this fire would end up spreading so quickly. And once the fire started to spread, people had to make a decision. And this book does a wonderful job of giving you the perspective of various people who were there and what they decided to do or what they witnessed. Witnesses saw people on fire as they were jumping out of the building. Another witness observed two people kissing right before they decided to jump, instead of being consumed by the fire. The elevator operator would save as many people as he could until the elevator would no longer work. Girls would end up jumping on top of the moving elevator. After it was all over, the rescuers would discover one man who actually slid down the elevator cable, And as he was sliding down, the friction would tear the flesh off his hands to the bone. And he would end up passing out because of the pain as he hit the bottom of the elevator shaft. And when he was found, thankfully alive, he was up to his neck in water. People on the ground would frantically try their best to catch people as they jumped. There were reports of bodies actually tearing through the nets and hitting the ground. And many of the women lost their lives as they fought helplessly trying to open locked doors. Ultimately, these owners would go on trial for first-degree manslaughter for a lack of safety standards. These men, the owners, would actually escape by making it to the rooftop and hopping onto another building. And the focus of this trial was whether or not they had locked the door. And the book this book goes into detail about what happened at the trial and how they brought in a locksmith to look at this lock that was damaged by fire to try and determine if in fact the door was locked. And so if you want to know more and really go into more detail, I definitely encourage you to check out this wonderful book, and I will definitely include a link in the comment section of this video. The book is only 42 pages long. It's a quick and easy read. So as I said before, 146 people died in this fire. This is such a sad situation here because, again, these deaths could have been prevented. But I did a little bit more research and I found out in that same year in New York City, 497 people died, and that's including this fire that we're discussing. 497 people died in fires similar to this, and I'm certain that a lot of these could have been prevented as well. And so this would ultimately, because of these sad situations and some brave people who would march and fight for better paying jobs, better working conditions. These were brave people because there was a lot of backlash for asking for simple things like, better wages, better working conditions. There was a lot of backlash towards those people who would do things like that. So a lot needed to be done. A lot of people fought bravely in order to make those changes. And so because of those brave people, we have a lot of things in existence today that are aimed at protecting workers. So that is our social studies lesson for the day. I thank you so much for watching. Check the Vision Chasers website for more tips and tools as you chase your vision of success. Also, feel free to download the worksheet that goes along with this video to further your knowledge of the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory fire. Also, this book is a wonderful resource, only 42 pages, that's it, and you get so much in-depth information, and you also get to hear from witnesses who were actually there, who witnessed the situation. So, thank you so much for watching, and until we meet again, please keep chasing the vision. Bye.